Hello, everyone. I'm JVL here with my colleague from the Bulwark, A.B. Stoddard, and everything is terrible. It's Monday morning. The New York Times has another poll out, and it's very bad news for Joe Biden. It's hugely good news for Donald Trump. Let's throw some numbers at you. We had Trump leading in all of the battleground states except for Wisconsin, weirdly enough. And people kind of having a freak out. We have Trump plus, what is he? Is it 49 in Arizona, which I'm sorry, is insane. It has him at registered voters. It has him plus 7 in Arizona, which I just don't think is possible, considering that this poll was taken right around the Arizona abortion freakout that Republicans triggered. Anyway, but has them at 49% in Georgia, 49 in Michigan, 50 in Nevada, 47 in Pennsylvania. A.B., why don't you give me good news?
Yeah, okay, there is a sliver, which is that in shifting from registered voters to likely voters, that's when you see polling favor Biden. And in this poll, when they do that, the numbers get better and get better for Biden in Michigan. It's still really terrible that Trump has a 12-point lead in Nevada. 12 points. He breaks 50. It is scary that RFK is breaking 10% in the battlegrounds on average and taking evenly from both candidates. And then, as you mentioned, Georgia is a 10-point lead for Trump. So there's this weird thing that's been happening in the last couple of months that showed up in polling, which is that Joe Biden is doing well with seniors. And that's actually a really good thing. And they are going to learn after September 1 of this year the results of this first ever negotiation with the drug companies for Medicare drug pricing. And that is going to be a big deal. And he narrowly lost seniors to Trump in 2020, and he's been gaining with them. And they are the best voters, and this is a good thing. They don't want explosive change. And he is doing well with white voters in the Rust Belt. So the Sun Belt states, instead of being the states we thought after 2020 were going to be where Democrats are ascendant because they're more diverse, and that was going to be where they, make a foothold. It's interesting that right now, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania are looking like a better bet. They're not looking great, just looking like a better bet for Biden. And so Biden doing better with white voters, losing, of course, non-white voters in his coalition to Trump. Not all of those people are expected to be good voters and show up, but it's still erosion. It's still concerning, and it's not good news.
Let me throw something at you from the Nevada numbers, from the crosstabs. Trump getting 42% of the Hispanic vote in Nevada, only losing women by 6, which would be the closest Trump has ever got with women voters anywhere, and outright winning millennial voters.
Yeah. Again, we have to. Yeah.
Okay.
We have to accept this idea that you guys have talked about. You've talked about with Sarah and Tim, which is that Democrats no longer have a lock on young voters because young voters, my kids are 22 and 20, that they and their cohort have only ever known like this chaos and this madness, right? And that Trump is not an aberration. He's what you get. Biden looks sleepy and things cost too much. And so we have to accept that a lot of these young voter numbers are real. And I'm willing, obviously, I think the black vote erosion is real, but the Hispanic numbers I think they're the biggest alarm bell, which is that I think Biden's loss is the worst loss is going to be with Hispanic voter versus Black voters and young voters. He's losing them all, not completely. He likely ends up winning the young vote, but by far less, winning the Black vote, but by far less. But I think he outright could lose the Hispanic vote, and it's just really important for people to understand that these, especially non-college Black and Hispanic voters, have been hard hit by inflation more than the rest of his coalition. And this, as we always talk about, many things could happen. Today is not October 13th, it's May 13th. Many factors will weigh in, and I cling to Sarah's 5 stages of grief, that people don't realize they're stuck with Joe Biden and Trump, and then they're going to get mad, then they're going to get sad, and then eventually they'll come around to acceptance. I do think that could shift things, but right now it's really important for the Democrats to acknowledge their real erosion in their coalition and do something about that.
A.B., I got to level with you. I don't fully mean this. I only 10% believe this. But part of me wants Trump to just win the popular vote outright so that these people can get what they have coming. Because let me read another crosstab from the polls to you. I'm just going to quote from the New York Times story on this. In a finding that will frustrate Democrats, even as it presents opportunity for Mr. Biden, nearly 20% of voters blame him more than they do Mr. Trump for the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. You know what? America, suck it.
Yeah.
If 1 out of 5 Americans who doesn't like the Dobbs decision blames Biden for that, let's just do it. Let's do this thing. Let's burn it all down. Maybe I'm with Steve Bannon at the end. I don't know.
I kind of agree with you. If that's the country that we are, that on this most digestible, most understandable, not confusing Middle East wars issue, if people cannot figure out what happened to Roe v. Wade and Dobbs v. Jackson, that's the end of this country.
Yeah, that's it. Why? Yep. What is that? One more Joe Biden victory going to buy us? Another 4 years? Great.
I know.
It's game over anyway. Also over the weekend in Wildwood, New Jersey, not Wildwood Crest, Wildwood. This is the distinction in New Jersey terms. The former president talked about Hannibal Lecter, the late, great Hannibal Lecter, who was a wonderful man. I just wrote about this for today's newsletter, the Triad. Ding, ding, ding. Go to thebulwark.com and sign up to get it. Mostly for free. Sometimes you have to pay. The New York Times, paper of record, mentioned this on the front page 0 times on Sunday, 0 times on Monday. Had, as I was writing this morning, 0 mentions of it on its web page, which has 170 stories on it or something. It seems to me that it might be notable that the guy who is at least a 50-50 shot to win the presidency either has aphasia or is in marked cognitive decline, that he just says nonsense gibberish. And everybody, again, if Joe Biden had done this Hannibal Lecter riff,
yeah,
it would be wall-to-wall coverage on every news channel, on the front page of every newspaper in America. The only discourse we would have all week long is, oh, Joe Biden, can you believe this? And yet we live in a world where Trump's it's just Trump doing the Trump thing. I don't see how anybody is supposed to beat him when the answer is, it's just Trump doing the Trump thing.
Yeah. No, it's an entirely different set of rules. He gets to be context free. Joe Biden there would be members of the House Democratic caucus going on the record saying I think we need to really,
we're not at the convention yet.
Talk about
we still
the
have
fact
room.
that this is really concerning to voters. He is going to be the oldest nominee ever. And it's yeah, it really is. I do see, like you do, the videos of the bulk of the rally crowd leaves when he goes on too long
Yeah.
with his rolling gibberish and everything, but it's still like laughed off. It's always laughed off. It's always like that's just his little
Ah,
his
that
his little
scamp.
open mic night act, and it's what he does, and he just savors. He goes through a hit parade. He loves movies. It's just sort of what he does, and it's just all is forgiven, and all is hidden, and all is explained away, and I wish it didn't still make me so crazy, but it does. And he actually did have several slurring events at the same rally
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Real
Just like,
ones. Yeah.
I mean, but Joe Biden is old or something. And today, I guess not today, but this week we have Michael Cohen testifying in the election fraud trial in Manhattan. There's a new approach from Team Trump. They are now bringing high-profile, supposedly grown-up, normie elected Republicans, first Rick Scott, today J.D. Vance, to court with him, to sit behind him. I mean, this is like what the mob would do, right? You bring, well, we got this bent cop in our pocket. And so, like Officer Krupke would come and sit behind Vito Corleone's defense team. And I guess this is just where we are now, right? This is where we are. Every Democrat has to be absolutely perfect on everything. The Republicans can run a guy who is going to be convicted, I think, of a felony. And everybody else just attests to it because they think, well, he's going to get a bunch of power. And if I swim along in his slipstream, I can take a little bit of that power for myself.
Oh,
Cool.
I mean, the difference between 2016 and 2020 and the way that Republicans used to try to deflect so that they didn't have to defend Trump, and they sort of squirmed and they tried to, spin it another way.
I don't read all the tweets. I couldn't say. Right. This is what they used to do.
Right. To just now, just the open championing of Trump and everything he's promising us and everything he's going to do to destroy the constitutional order here and the international order abroad is the celebration, the advocacy, the open, and obviously Vance is trying to be vice president, and now the other Rubio will have to show up next week. It's just completely disgusting, but it's at the same time it's so interesting and it's so telling because it's like the power move that Trump has people who are willing to show up at court from the Senate Republican conference and suck up to him, but at the same time it's like kind of sad and gross that he doesn't really have like real best friends. And Eric has come once in a while. Don Jr. doesn't show up. Ivanka doesn't show up. Melania obviously never would. Tiffany, so it is kind of, I don't know, it's both just it's so flagrant in what it tells us about how much power he now, so much more powerful than he was even, just a few years ago. But with Republicans, but at the same time, he's like this gross, sad man that is on trial for this gross, sad thing. And he doesn't really have people who love him sitting there backing him up. But it's true in terms, to back up what you said, I wrote today about House Republicans. I mean, are Democrats ever going to get any credit for governing? Will they ever get credit for being grown-ups? Like, they rescued Republicans in Arizona. So now it's back into a swing state and out of Biden's column, which was in for a few short weeks until the 1864 ban was repealed by the legislature with the help all Democrats and the help of 2 Republicans. And then will Democrats get credit for keeping the House of Representatives functioning and not having another speaker blow up and protecting Mike Johnson's job? Like, I just don't think so anymore. I just don't know if voters notice that.
Again, this country deserves what it has coming. The Arizona thing, the Democrats in Arizona who were presented with this golden opportunity to really hang this law around the necks of every single Republican running on a ballot. And instead, they chose to do the work of legislating to pass something that was incredibly popular, that was going to have a concrete impact on the lives of people who live in Arizona. And as a result, they'll get punished for that. Because the American public, they now believe that it's all brinksmanship, right? Nothing ever touches me. And even a fucking pandemic that killed 1 million Americans doesn't count anymore.
But what's so interesting is for for this little window of time in Arizona, everybody knew how real and concrete that was, right? What that ban would do. And the Democrats could not wait until the election to punish Republicans politically because they could not permit the traumatizing of women in that state. They had to help them and stop it. And I just don't think they'll get, I think on election night, we'll look at the Arizona numbers, and I don't know that like all they're running around and saying, and it will be on the ballot in Arizona. And I just don't know that it's going to show up in real energy from the voters.
Sebastian, can you roll the video of Johnny McEntee, whatever this human turd's name is? He is Trump's body man, who is now part of the 2025 project, and he's going to be in charge of really making sure we only have truly loyal people to Donald Trump in the next administration. He posted a little thing over the weekend just explaining a fun little gag he likes to do with homeless people.
So I always keep this fake Hollywood money in my car, so when a homeless person asks for money, then I give them like a fake $5 bill. So I feel good about myself, they feel good. And then when they go to use it, they get arrested. So I'm actually like helping clean up the community, you know, getting them off the street.
I mean, what's better than young, wealthy people with power trying to get people without homes or food locked up? I mean, I don't even know. I don't even really know how to respond to something like this, except to say that, like, this is what evil looks like. It's just evil.
Yes. It hit the smile on his face, the delight and the pride and the cheekiness over endangering someone who's hungry and getting them carted off. I mean, it's just beyond belief. And that's the whole culture in there in MAGA. Like, the cruelty is the point, right? You gotta be a sadist. You gotta be punitive. You've got to be tough, and you've got to be comfortable with all that stuff. That's who they are. The people who are going to be in a Trump second term. There's no more wimps. There's no more people who are, they're really conservative and they want to work in the Trump administration, but they're really religious and really, they walk the walk. No, you've got to be willing to commit crimes and be really, really sickly cruel.
The thing that I find so interesting about this is that I could have seen something like this being perfectly within the place of the Republican Party 10 or 20 years ago, pre-Trump, among a very certain type of privileged country club Republican, right? Here I'm thinking of Judge Smales from Caddyshack, right? The Ted Knight character, right? You could see his character doing something like that. But that was when the Republican Party was the party of the rich and the party of bankers and doctors and lawyers and CEOs. And now it's the party of guys like Johnny and Trump and JD Vance and all that. But it's also the party of people who want their government handouts, who want their disability checks, who want, the terrible things have been done to them by fentanyl, right? The world is conspiring against them to take away the jobs from their little towns. And so it's grievance mixed with cruelty. And there's something strange about people for whom they feel as though they are down on their luck. And the response to that is not to have empathy and compassion for other people for whom things might have conspired to make their lives difficult, but to find it hysterical to get those people more because they're the other, right? And they're like NPCs. They're non-player characters. They're not real human beings. They don't really count. Yeah. And I don't know how to say this without sounding like a crazy person, but this is like final solution level shit. When thinking about homeless people as if it's a funny game to give them fake money so that they think they're being given something nice so that then they wind up getting arrested. This is like how you get to ethnic cleansing and that sort of stuff.
Because Johnny described it as his good effort to clean up the community.
Clean up the community, right? Because the community is for people like him. The community does not include both him and other people who aren't as fortunate and privileged, right? This is right. The true community, like the true America, is only comprised of the real America. Is only comprised of the people from his tribe, and the people from the other tribe are not a legitimate part, and so must be cleaned. As the president said, the vermin, right? This is it's all great. It's all great. Well, good. We'd missed a couple of weeks. I'm glad we got our extra dark helpings in today.
Yeah, this is a dark Monday.
Good luck, America.
To be sure.